Um, Hello guys. I hope you're having a great day wherever you're watching this video from. My name is Ajoke. Um, this is going to be one of my first YouTube videos. In this video, I'll be talking about my path, my journey into residency. So I'm going to start with a quick background. I went to a Caribbean medical school in St. Vincent and the Grenadines after graduating high school in Nigeria. And the path usually is to, you know, the path that I planned for myself basically was to graduate and actually do my residency in the United States. I wasn't sure what I was going to do in the beginning, of course, but as time went on, everything became clear. So I started studying for step one. I started studying for step one in the third year of medical school. After we started the clinical rotations, I started studying and um, I took my step one in my third year and I passed. I mean, that was like one step the of the journey. And then in my fifth year of residency, like during the COVID, like during my final year of sorry, I said final, during my final year um, of medical school, I decided to prepare for my step two to take the next step basically. And I was during the COVID period, there was a lockdown, everyone was home. And I remember like using that opportunity, using that time to study, pending the time that we could resume clinical rotations. So I took my step two in Ghana and I also passed, which was like a huge relief, basically. And then I remember I graduated medical school at that time. I think I was not yet sure of what specialty I wanted to apply to at that point. I was like, yeah, I like everything. I enjoyed like almost all my rotations in medical school. I wasn't really sure of what I wanted to do. So moving on, after graduating from medical school, I was back to Nigeria. I did my 1 year internship, which is like also known as house job, where you rotate. Um, you change like your rotations every 3 months. You rotate in surgery, you rotate in internal medicine, you rotate in pediatrics, yeah, and so on. And I remember during the process of this exam, I met a friend, and she was like, so I met a friend during this time, and she was like, she was gonna apply for the match. She already knew what she wanted to do, and I was like super happy for her. And she was like encouraging me at that time, come on, apply. Your year of graduation is still very young. If you apply, you're gonna get in. Just have faith in what you have. And but at that time, to be honest, I felt like I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready at all. I felt like my CV was I didn't have any volunteer experiences. I didn't have any US clinical experience at the time. And the lack of US clinical experience wasn't my lack of trying. I had applied for US visa twice during my time in medical school and I got declined both times. And I just had to make use of what I had at that moment. And yeah, so I, you know, started the internship. During the internship, I was like, okay, what am I gonna apply to? I was like, I'm gonna apply to the next session, like the next cycle. So I started my internship in 2021, ending of 2021. And people that applied in 2021 were applying into the 2022 cycle. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna apply in the coming cycle, which was the 2022 to 2023 cycle, if that makes sense. So I started the process. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not really sure. I think I'll be fine with anywhere. I'm okay if I just match into anything at this point. So I applied to internal medicine, I applied to family medicine. Those were the two specialties I applied for initially. And I didn't apply to a lot of programs. I think I only did 45, between 45 to 50 programs at the time. And my application was such a rush because I didn't even know what I should be looking for. Like my application was a mess. And anyone that's done internship in Nigeria knows that it's a very crazy time. You are busy, you're working more than 24-hour shifts. Where the center that I was would go days, like days without electricity. There was no light, there was nothing. And that was like really setting me back in my application process. Even my letters of recommendation, there was not, I like everything was just a jumbled mess. But regardless, I put my application together with my poorly research programs and I submitted. And I was like, okay, hopefully someone will read my application packet and give me an opportunity to interview with them. So at this time it was towards the end. This was like the end, like towards the end of 2022, basically. And um yeah, it was towards the end of it. I submitted my application and then it was time for interviews to start rolling in, right? And I was like, waiting, oh my God, am I gonna get an interview? I had some friends, like acquaintances, that were also applying that time. They were already getting interviews, and I was like, oh my God, what's wrong? I started sending letters of interest. I was like, and by November, I started to lose hope. I was like, oh my God, I don't think I'm gonna make it. I don't think I'm gonna match for the 2023 cycle. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna match. I was already losing hope. People were forming groups to practice interviews, and I was like, I have no interview invite, so how am I gonna practice interviews? Like, make it make sense. Like, at least I didn't have the motivation to. So it goes by, November passes, December passes. I go to NYC camp. If you're Nigerian, you know that NYC is like the service camp, the youth service camp where you get posted somewhere to work for a year. Usually they post you to like an underserved area. So I had all of that going on at the time. I was like, you know what? I don't have any control over this aspect. I'm just gonna focus. So January comes, February comes, you're reading posts for people, looking for people like that have had received interviews as late as January, February, but that was not my case. There was no interview. So I definitely knew I wasn't going to match because I didn't even have any programs to rank at this point. So moving on. So March comes, March day comes, and yeah, people that found out if they matched, they know that they matched. It was I was going through Twitter and seeing people, so congratulations, you've matched both. And I was like, oh my god, this could have been me. But it was not. But I was like, you know what? I already expected it. I already knew that I wasn't gonna match because I didn't have any interview. It's a different thing when you got interviewed and you submitted a rank list. I think it's a lot more disappointing. I mean, at least for me, I knew that I already knew my outcome from the beginning. So it wasn't a shock that I didn't match. And it's so sad because everyone that knows that you applied, they would be messaging you that day, oh my God, did you match? Did you match? And you have to tell them, oh, I didn't match. I didn't get any interviews, so I didn't match. Um, so on that match day, like a colleague, like an older colleague slash mentor was like, you know what, are you going to do the soap? I was like, soap? What is soap? So soap is like a supplemental like application for unfilled programs that were not able to match all of their slots, and also for unmatched applicants. It's like another match process again. A mini match process again, where unfilled applicants, unfilled programs, they come and everybody kind of like tries to get matched or tries to get filled, and it's like a whole other application process again. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, you know what? I already lose. And he was like, you know what? Just try. You never know. You might get an interview. You might get matched. You never know. Just try, right? I mean, and when I found out I didn't have to pay any extra money, I had nothing to lose, right? So it was perfectly reasonable to actually reapply and see what happens. So I do the whole thing. It was so stressful because you have to like research all the programs on that list to find which one that you are able to, or that the one that you like fit into their criteria of what they are looking for. And sometimes you may not always like get the kind of specialty you want. You may have to consider other specialties. So I like at that point I considered emergency medicine. I still applied to some internal medicine, and you had to write a new personal statement again. Letter of recommendations, I didn't have any new ones. I had to use the old ones I already used for that like previous specialties. So I shall apply though. I applied, it was like 40 programs. You submit the application, and then the next day you wait for interviews. So the next day comes, and miraculously, I got an interview in emergency medicine. And I was like, oh my God, I'm freaking out because, I've not been practicing interviews this whole season because I had not gotten an. And the interview was the following day. It was going to be like a phone call, and I didn't have a US phone number. I had to like buy a Skype phone number for this. I had to like, and then I practiced like a very short practice session with someone for interviews, and I don't even think that was enough, honestly. So the following day comes, the program director calls me for the interview. So we're on the phone. She was like, "Hi, I went through your CV and everything. I would like to get to know more about you. Can you tell me about yourself in like 5 minutes?" She was like, "This whole interview is gonna be 5 minutes. You have to tell me about yourself. Tell me why you want to come to our program." I was like, "Oh my god!" And my heart is like, boom, 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 boom. Like my heart was thumping so hard because I was like, oh my god, this is my last chance. If I don't make it now, I have to like wait for another session. I don't even know if I'm gonna reapply for this whole, because it's been an emotional roller coaster back to back. So continuing the story, she tells me, tell me about yourself, and all I remember is my heart racing. And I know I was saying a lot of things. I don't even remember what I was saying, but it was like having to convince someone in 5 minutes to give you a position is hard, like especially if you've not been practicing interviews. So I rambled on and on for 5 minutes. I told her why the program and everything, and the interview ended. So after the interview, there was like a meet and greet session where you can ask questions to the previous residents. So I go and I saw like 27 other applicants who had been interviewed. They were all in the same group. I said, ho, 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 ho. There is no way, because I'm competing with this many people for the program had three unfilled slots. I was like, I know way, I know way, I know way. So we did that, and yeah, I was already like feeling low already. I didn't think it was gonna come. So basically, after you interview on the final day, you have to wait for offers to come in, right? And you keep checking. There's like a platform on the NRMP where you keep checking for available slots if they've gone out. So, and it's like in 3 rounds. So at the end of the first round, 2 slots were already gone out of the 3 slots. And I was like, you know what, miracles can still happen. So I held on now. Like second round came, this by the second round the last spot was gone, so like it was done. So after that whole experience, I was just like, I was down. I was like, oh my god, like why did I even get this interview in the first place if it was just going to be a tease? Like if I wasn't going to get it, like what's the point of me going through this whole soap process, this whole interview process, only to not match? I cried. Did I cry? I can't remember, but I think I must have cried. I was like really disappointed. The sting of the rejection really, it really was there. I felt the sting of the rejection. I cried about it. I was sad for like a few days, but you know what? You fall down, you get back up. That's it. Life had to continue. I mean, what will you do? So eventually, months pass, some weeks pass, and I have to figure out my plan. What am I doing with my life? Am I going to reapply for the next session? Because, as you know, that was the 2023 session. Am I going to reapply for the 2024 session? That was the big question. I was so traumatized by the whole experience. I was like, I don't want to go through. That was horrible. That was some horrible stuff. I don't want to go through that again. But then my dad was like, you can try again. Don't worry, I'll support you. Try again. Let's see. You never know. Try again, try again, try again. Okay? That was what he was saying, like try again. And I was like, you know what? I'll think about it. In the meantime, I was like exploring other options, like going for masters in the US or like masters in anywhere else. Basically, I considered PLAB. I actually booked PLAB. No, yeah, I booked a PLAB exam because I think you have to like register like months or maybe even a whole year before you write PLAB. So I considered all of those options and I was thinking about it. And eventually, you know what? I was like, you know what? I'll try again. So in order to try again, I had to troubleshoot what actually went wrong with my application. So I had to go back to see what mistakes I made. I didn't apply to the right programs. I didn't apply to programs that were the right fit for me. My application was rushed. I needed better quality letter of recommendations. Yeah, there was a whole lot of things that was missing that needed to be addressed. And of course, I did not practice interviews because if I had been practicing interviews, maybe there was like actually a chance where I could have matched with that one interview I got during this. But you never know. You never know. So basically, that's where we are at that time. So I started talking to people, talking to different people that have matched. Okay, what did you do? What did you do? Just to like learn from them and see what I could do to improve my application. And then I was studying, I was reviewing programs, I started researching programs early. And then this time I knew what I was going to apply for. I was going to apply to pediatrics and internal medicine. So let's go back to my house job experience. During my house job experience, I finished pediatrics was my last rotation and I really loved it. I enjoyed it. I felt like I learned so much. I felt like useful during that rotation. It was stressful, but I was able to adapt to it. And yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do peds. I'm gonna do internal medicine. Let's see. I don't like internal medicine, but if that's where I'm gonna match, I don't care. Let's just do this. Let's just get into a program. So I researched programs. I think I ended up applying to like maybe 100, I think 100 programs eventually because I was like, maybe the last time I didn't apply to enough. I did my research about the programs. I got new letters of recommendation. I wrote new personal, everything was new. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start this early. And then we submit applications. Yeah, we submit and, you know, at the end of September, I think a week, 2 weeks later, I was having panic episodes. I was like, oh my God, what if it's going to be like last year? What if I won't get any interviews? What if it's going to be the same outcome? I was so scared. I remember I was breaking down one time. I had like roommates at the time. I didn't want to cry while other people were there. So I would like just go to a quiet place and cry about it. I would cry about it. And it was the time I like broke down in the mosque because I like to go to the mosque because it's like very quiet. There are usually not a lot of people there. There was like a sister that was there to pray as well. And then she saw me break down crying. And then she came to me and she hugged me. She was like, I don't know what is wrong. I don't know what's going on, but I know you're going to be fine. I don't know her name. She doesn't know my name. Till today, I don't know. We didn't know each other, but she really comforted me with that warm hug. And I can't ever forget it. And that passes. And I think the following day, I got my first interview. I was like, oh my God, someone read my application and think, oh, I think she's a good fit for our program. I was so happy. And even prior to this, I think 2 weeks prior, I think in the meantime, you know what? I told myself I was going to be ready, regardless of if interview comes or not. I got my suit. I got my yeah. I got a suit, and it was like a demonstration of my faith. Like I believe that something is going to be different this time around. So I got my suit before, and then that first interview came in, and it was beautiful. It was amazing, and I was so happy. I was so proud. I was like, even if this is the only one, I'm okay. Like compared to my last experience, it was like mind blowing. And then The day after that, I got two new interviews, and every other day I was getting one, two, one, two, one, two. It was like that for like 2 weeks for my interviews, and some I was on wait list. So in total, I got like 10 interviews. Right? Is there anything that God cannot do? If it's your time, it's your time. I guess it was my time. For some reason, people were looking at my application. They were like, "Yes, this is what we're looking for." So I did the. So I did the interviews. I tried my best. With interviews, you don't really know how it went. It's weird in a way, like you can't really judge if you did well or not. No matter how prepared you are, you just like go in, you talk to these people, you don't even know if they like you don't know what impression they took away, you don't know anything basically. And so I did my interviews and I did 9 interviews. The last interview was like, you know, it was complicated for some reason. I can't really say the reason, but like I didn't do that interview, but I did the other 9 interviews. And it was such a pain to like rank the programs because I'm like, all of these programs are good, they're wonderful. I love everything they have to offer. And I did know that I was going to do PITS. PITS was like my first choice compared to internal medicine. And I did have more PITS interviews. I had like 7 interviews from PITS. I had 3 interviews from high end. So I was like, I'm going to rank all my PITS program higher than the internal medicine programs. And then, the cards can fall wherever they want to fall. So, yeah, while in this whole process, I got a pre-match offer because I had applied to some pre-match programs apparently. And I got an offer in February, right when I was about to finalize my rank list. And given my past experience of like not matching, it was so scary to me to have to go through soap and everything again. And then I asked myself a question. I was like, if I actually go through the match and I rank this program on my list, would it be the last program on my list? The answer was no. It wasn't going to be the last program on my list. And if I found out that I matched into that program with the match, would I be happy? And my answer was yes. So, like, after thinking it through, talking to my family, my friends, like, it was one of the hardest decisions I have had to make. I mean, it wasn't my number one program, but it was like, oh my God, I have to let go of all these other options that like, but I think, everything worked out for the best. I've accepted the pre-match and I was so happy. I think for the first time in weeks, I was able to sleep really well. I felt at peace with my decision. I knew that probably it was what God wanted for me. And honestly, till today, looking back, would I have made a different choice? Probably not. I would have still made the same choice. Like, it is what it is. So guys, that is my residency match story. If you are going through the match process and you watch this video, I hope it becomes a beacon of hope for you. I hope you don't give up on your dreams, no matter how many setbacks. you know I think the moral of my story is basically don't give up on your dreams, keep trying, work harder, go back to the drawing board if you have to. What can you do better? What can you change in this situation? Honestly, and just hope for the best, pray to God, and also like a good support system is also important. Having friends that share you on, that encourage you, because some days will be hard. You're gonna cry, you're gonna be sad. It's a lot of emotions. And if you're going through this process and you've applied for March 2026, I'm wishing you all the best. I pray that you match into a program that's the best fit for you, where you're able to learn, where you're able to grow and everything. So yeah, this is the end of the video. Sorry I rambled on for so long. Thank you for your time. And make sure you hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. I mean, I'm just starting as a content creator, so you guys should help me. So like you guys should support me. What you think about the video? What other videos would you like me to do next? Things like that. All right, guys. Bye.